Hello and welcome back to TotalSport and welcome to Breaking Barrier, brand new series where I will be joined by the amazing Chris and Hass.
Yeah, we're here. We're here to basically break some barriers, aren't we, Mariam Naz? It's what it says on the tin, isn't it?
It's exactly that. We're going to be looking at all sorts of stuff: sexism, racism, homophobia online, all the kind of things that we feel like we need to be discussing.
So yeah, these will be coming out in chapters, won't they, Hass Kareem?
Yep, they will be. So we've got chapter 1, which is glitter and gloss. Then we've got chapter 2, which is on racism, which we're going to call colorblind. And then we've also got the transplant series alongside that.
Yeah, which kind of meals in with it, doesn't it? It's like kind of, if it all merges together, and that's what we will love to see. It's part of some brand new content that we've got coming up for you lot. It's just amazing. It's unique. It's what you want to see. And it's homemade. And today we're joined by a very, very special guest. So I don't think she needs much introduction, but Mariam Naz.
Yeah, today we've got the amazing Laura Woods on the show, and she's going to be telling us about her journey into sports journalism and all this kind of issues that she's faced and the kind of things that we see quite a lot in sport in terms of sexism and online trolling. And hopefully we're going to hear a lot about her journey and what kind of advice she can give for anybody out there really who's kind of experiencing the same thing.
Exactly. So if you've enjoyed this and want to see loads more of these, which you will do anyway, but drop a like and subscribe, please. Subscribe. That's what we want to see. Just subscribe to us. Hass, how many % aren't subscribed?
It's 80-something%. I can't remember the exact one. It's not good enough. Fix that.
Hit the button. Let's get into it.
Whoa. Have you hit that subscribe button? If not, what are you waiting for? Do it.
So as you can see, we're joined by a very special guest today, Laura Woods. How are you, Laura? How's things?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're more than happy to have you on. We've been very excited about this one for the last few days, actually. Both for the new series, actually, and having you on as a guest. For those who may not be aware, I'm sure many people are at this stage, but tell us, what you're currently doing now, obviously with the football season restarting again, and what you've been up to recently.
Yesterday was probably my busiest day I've had for the year so far, because I do a breakfast show on TalkSport Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I get up at 3:30 in the morning, I go and do that show. I finish at 10, and then I had to come home and I had 2 interviews, Zoom interviews for Sky, one with Trent Alexander-Arnold and one with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Ahead of the Merseyside derby, so that was amazing. And then in the evening, I did the watch along with Sky for City Arsenal. And as an Arsenal fan, I did not enjoy. I think maybe I enjoyed the first 2 minutes. I enjoyed when Eddie Nketiah got in behind, had one shot, and it probably culminated to one of the 2 shots in total that we had the whole game. So that was like the most enjoying part of it, really. The rest was awful. So yesterday was busy. And it kind of works like that in sport. It's swings and roundabouts, really. Some days you'll have quieter days, and some days you'll have a lot going on. And with the season coming back like it is, and like it did last night, it was always going to be a busy one. But it felt amazing. It's just, I've missed it a lot, and it's been quite hard. We've done the breakfast show now for 3 months with no sport, and I took the job just before lockdown. So in fact, my first day was the first day of lockdown. So no sport, no people in the studio with you, no cars on the road. It was just a really, really odd place to start, really. But we're getting there. So yeah, doing all right now.
So to do a total 360, we want to detail how you started. So, what are your earliest memories? Was journalism something you always wanted to step into? Or was it something that you fell into?
So I still do. I really like writing. And that was originally one of the first things I was good at school. So I was always sporty and I always liked writing, but I didn't put the 2 together. And then I used to apply for the press packer thing on Newsround, never used to get a call back or a letter back. And I just quite enjoyed it. And I didn't nail it down for a long time. So when I was at school, I was really good in English, and I liked that kind of side of things. So I went to uni and did print journalism. And then while I was at uni, I was kind of thinking, maybe I should have done broadcast journalism. But I couldn't get into Bournemouth. I wanted to do Bournemouth. They did like a sports broadcasting course, but I didn't have the grades to get in, so I didn't do it. So then when I was at uni, I started getting work experience at different places. I did it in the Croydon Advertiser and I hated it. Then I got work experience at Sky, and it was just amazing. It was like my eyes were opened and I figured it out, and I thought, wow, I'd found my place. I found the place that I wanted to be. And then I had to work out how to get in there. So it was like, in my work experience, I just made teas and coffees for everybody. I was as enthusiastic, but I genuinely was. I was as enthusiastic about the tiniest little jobs as I was to the best things that they gave me. I did it on Soccer AM, and it clicked for me, and I realised that that's what I wanted to do. And then I gradually just learned all the jobs. Like I learned each role as you go up in production before I moved over to reporting and presenting. And it took a really long time, but it's made me a much better presenter. I've got no doubt about it, because I know all the jobs everybody has to do, and I've probably done them. Bar, I've never been a sound person, obviously, but I know how to use a camera, I know how to edit, I know how to produce live shows. So all of those things, I think, tie into, they make the perfect ingredients if you want to be a presenter, because you understand the climate that you're working in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned that you started out with an interest in writing. I mean, did you see yourself stepping into a presenter kind of role when you were first looking into the industry?
When I first walked through the door at Sky, I knew then that I wanted to present, and I'd been writing at university as well. I've been doing match reports for my my university newspaper, so I still saw the benefit of it. I still saw the benefit of all the writing, because it's that editorial know-how, really. It's kind of the way that you structure an article, the way that you cover a game, the way that you piece together a creative writing passage. It's still editorial, and it's still putting blocks together in your mind. And that all transfers when you're working in sport and production, and then when you're working in presenting. So yeah, I knew when I walked into Sky what I wanted to do. I just didn't know if I would be able to do it. So it was, while I was trying to pursue that, I still had another job to do. I still had to learn how to be a runner, and then an assistant producer, and then work my way up. And I took those jobs just as seriously. So all of the time that I was trying to get into presenting, I was doing things like I was borrowing cameras off people and just filming things for YouTube, and doing my own little interviews with people behind the scenes. Anytime anybody needed to be interviewed for any show that I was doing, as long as it wasn't a presenter in vision, I'd ask if I could do it. So when you see somebody being interviewed but you can't see the reporter, I'd be doing all of those interviews because I wanted to learn how to do it. So yeah, I think gradually, as I got a little bit towards the end of university, I kind of figured it out. I thought, yeah, I want to do this. It was just if I would be able to. That was the question.
So it was a natural sort of instinct for you, because a lot of people, when they step into presenting, they kind of have to nurture those specific skill sets in that sense. So you felt naturally within you had that ability to be comfortable in front of the camera and speak to camera.
Absolutely not. No, I was crap. I was so and anyone that tells you they're not when they start, I mean, they must. I'm sure there are naturals out there, but I don't know any. Like, there is nothing natural about talking to a camera and trying to talk to it as if it's your friend. It's like, it's so unnatural, and that everything around it, everyone's looking at you from behind the camera and telling you, like, do this, do that, whatever. There's nothing natural about it. And I think the hurdle that I found moving into it was thinking, I will get there, like, as in I will get better. Because the first few times I did it, I was like, oh my God, I'm crap. Like, I'm never going to be able to do this. And obviously everybody else looks really good and sounds really natural when they're doing it, but I'm not there yet. So really, it's the perseverance. It's the kind of, you've got to have a real belief in yourself that there is a voice that's trying to get out. And the voice that is trying to get out is your natural voice. And if you can find it, it's almost like the way that you talk to somebody normally is here. The first time you talk to camera, you are way over here and you're a different person. You say things that you don't normally say, and you put on a voice, like a posh voice, like you're supposed to be broadcasting in it, like a newsreader. and you have to try and get rid of this one and make this one your broadcast voice, and it's your own voice. So it took me years to do that, and it all comes with confidence. So you kind of have to just do it again and again, repetition, practice, and confidence, and then eventually you'll find it just clicks. So yeah, when I first started, I was nowhere near a natural at all, and I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't have any lessons. I didn't go to any presenter training classes or anything like that. I just tried to sit there and record myself and watch it back and wait until I didn't cringe, basically. Which took a lot of time.
Yeah, I think when we first kind of spoke online, I think our very first interaction was about the thing that we are about to talk about, which was online trolling and facing backlash online just simply for being a woman in sport. I think I find that something that we don't talk enough about. I mean, obviously, yes, sexism is quite rampant in sport, but we don't ever kind of look at it from a media perspective and online and on different platforms. So I really wanted to understand your experience of that and how your journey through that has developed.
Yeah, so I think I first became aware of it when I first started doing bits and bobs on screen, and I already had a Twitter account. And you just realize that you come across a lot of people who are quite angry, and they don't like change, they don't like anything that's not the norm. And your very existence in the world of sport and on screen in the sport that they love is offensive to them. I haven't mastered how to handle it. I don't know how to handle it. I try lots of different ways. You know, sometimes I've got something funny to say back, and that makes me laugh, and it makes other people laugh. And then sometimes I feel a bit guilty for taking the mick out of that person, even though they've instigated it first of all. You know, sometimes people bite back and say, like, how could you say that? Well, I've said it in reaction to something. I can't come out of the blue and picked up someone's profile and said something about them. What I'm doing now is I don't have Twitter on my phone anymore, so I don't have the app.
Okay.
I probably did this about 2 weeks ago, and I've always loved Twitter. I've always loved the interaction that you have with people. And I want to hear what people have to say about shows, because sometimes they can give you really constructive criticism as well. It doesn't always have to be abuse. Like sometimes they might say, did you know that you said this? And I'm like, did I? And I've got no idea I said that, but somebody's pulled me up on it, and I appreciate it, you know. And sometimes I'll get into work and I'll see a tweet and it'll say, this is boring. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, I'm tired today. And then you up it a little bit. But there is a line between constructive criticism and outright abuse. And I don't think anyone should have to deal with it at all, because I think it's making us different as people. I think that having this instant feedback, and where you only really consider the negative, you never sit there and you don't go to bed at night and think, that guy said I had a really nice dress on, or that guy said I delivered that line perfectly. Nobody will ever tweet you and say, your questions were excellent. But they will tweet you and call you X, Y, and Z. And they will tear you apart for the way that you look. And they will crucify you if you make a single mistake. And we are humans, so these things will happen. And when you have a camera in front of you, the negative aspect of that is that everyone will be able to see it, and it will be recorded forever. And social media gives you a platform of clipping something up and putting it out on air, and it will live online forever. So that's the negative side of the job. But I deleted Twitter the other day, and the reason I did it is just because I needed some peace, because the job that I've taken in TalkSport, as brilliant as it is, and I do love it, it has opened me up to a new audience. And whenever you're opened up to a new audience and exposed to somebody, a group of people that maybe don't know you as well as another group of people have, because they're used to you being there, it can upset people. They don't like change. So I've deleted it recently just for peace. And then I started kind of, you know, last night when football came back, that's the place I want to be. I want to be on Twitter, and I want to be seeing what people think of David Luiz, and I want to know like if anybody else thinks that was a goal. Like, you know, I want to see what people are saying. So I missed it last night, and I was happy I missed it. But I think that we take too much, we pay too much attention, and we give people on Twitter who don't have names or faces, we give them too much validity. We take on board what they're saying, when in real life, would we ever walk past a person in the street who doesn't know us and allow them to critique us? No, never.
Yeah, I would agree. It's quite hard to almost to be professional in a place where, like you mentioned, if somebody said that to you across the street, you respond probably instantly. So would you say that obviously your response towards it has changed over time, maybe perhaps when you first came into the industry? I know that sometimes when I experience it online, it makes me want to be impulsive and say something right there and then because I'm angry.
Yeah.
But obviously, what would you say is almost, you mentioned that you don't kind of have a way of doing it, but what would you say that you've learned is a good way to kind of respond to that kind of stuff?
Honestly, I've learned not to respond at all. And I don't always take my own advice, but what will happen is you'll read a tweet, you'll get angry, you'll write something out, you'll delete it, you'll mute that person, you'll never hear from them again. And actually, it's the best way to do it. And you can't obviously overnight mute everybody that's ever going to say something negative about you, but pick who you want to listen to. You know, I think this, who are your peers, and who are the people who you actually respect, and whose opinions and feedback do you want in your life, and then only give them the time and energy of understanding what they say and taking it on board. Don't give those people your energy, because if you do, this is the mess that I got myself into a few months ago when I started this job, is I wanted validation and I looked to Twitter for it, and it was the worst place I could have looked. Don't ever look to Twitter for validation, because it won't give it to you. And for 10 people saying that you're doing a brilliant job, the one person that says you're terrible will be the person that you think about before you go to bed. And you don't want to allow that in, because it will do something to you. And I think that in a world where we're much more aware of mental health, I think I can take my own steps as well to protect myself. And that is one of them, is not giving people the platform to get in your mind. So really now, unless there's something funny and quick-witted that I can come back with, which even now I'm doing less of, I ignore them, I mute them, and I take their power away. Sometimes they just want a reply. They just want to know that you've seen them. And the best way of getting a reply is to say something outrageous to you. And if you mute them, they'll never be able to do that again.
Yeah, there is quite a fine balance between those of us who I feel like are quite impulsive and react to it, and then there's those of us who, like you mentioned, can step back. But what would you kind of say towards those people who you feel are taking it head on and actually challenging it and fighting it? Because of course we talked about how it might not be the best thing to do in the moment, but how do you kind of feel about those kind of responses?
It depends how you feel about them. So if you want to take people on and you feel like you can do that, then by all means, if that's the way of dealing with it that you found works the best for you, then do it. But I've just found that you can't take everybody on, and the amount of energy that you put into doing that will draw all of your energy away from doing something positive with social media. So, I mean, who are these people that you're taking on? And you're making their evening by giving them your time and your attention, and really you could be putting it into something else. So I would say don't put yourself under that kind of pressure, because you're just human, and it's not normal, is it? It's not like if we were at school and every day we had to go head on with someone and they said something like, you're like, you know, there's some of the stuff I get sent, I'm like, wow. If we had to sit there in class and go, right, this person's just said this to me, okay, let me think of something to say back, blah, 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 blah. And then by the time you've done that, someone else has sent me something, and they're sitting over there. Like, in real life, that doesn't happen. It's just in this little world of Twitter. And someone told me once, they were like, listen, people go out of their way to write negative things because it makes them feel better. It's always a reflection of themselves rather than you. So, you know, someone tweeted me something the other day, and he said, why do you seduce everyone you interview? He's like, oh my God.
Wow.
And I was going to mute him, but then I thought, I'm not going to be angry. And I just said, it's not seduction. That's not me seducing. That's a conversation. It's your perception of a man and a woman talking that makes you feel like that. It's always a reflection of how they feel. They see you in a certain way. So nothing really that you're ever going to say is going to make them I mean, it might make them think twice about doing it again, but they have much bigger issues in their life, really, because they're tweeting you things like that. They have much bigger issues in their life than you can solve. So I wouldn't give them your energy.
So it's almost like the less sort of silence and the less attention you give them, the more likely they are just kind of give up. And I think that's something we can all learn. So kind of final question. You're about to speak. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think you take the sting out of it. You know, they think about it. They've sat there for ages typing and thinking of something that's going to get under your skin, and yeah, this will do it.
And you just don't respond.
All they want is a notification. They just want to see that you've seen them and you've responded. Sometimes I've sent something back and gone, wow, that's really hurtful. And they're like, oh, I didn't mean it. I didn't think you'd see it. So you're like, well, why did you see it then? So yeah, I would mute it. I'd take their sting away and I'd mute them forever. You'll never hear from them again. And they will never know that. So they're literally shouting down a tunnel and no one's listening. It's great, really. Or block them.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic way to deal with it, isn't it? Anything more from you, Mariam?
I was just going to say, if we can do more of that, final question on this segment, what do you think that social media companies can do more of? Because it's almost like it feels sometimes like we're fighting a battle where we could have extra help.
100%. And I've thought about this a lot. I've thought about it with racism, with sexism, with homophobia. I think that it is such a big forum, Twitter, and it is getting such a bad reputation. It's already there. You know, people are deleting their Twitter accounts because they don't need it. You don't get it on Instagram. You know, there's quality filters that you can put on and on Twitter, and I still don't think they're good enough. I think that there are so many accounts that are anonymous. If you're held to account for what you're writing, you're less likely to write something that's going to come back and bite you in the arse. I've always thought there must be a way of identifying profiles. So if you want to have a profile, you have to in some way say, right, here's my identification, this is me. Listen, there are apps out there that you have to have identification for to use. So the fact that Twitter chooses not to, for me, says that it's nothing to do with national security and the threat of losing people's details, because I'm part of an app called Borrow My Doggy, where you have to verify it's you because you're physically meeting up with people, so it's safety. So if Borrow My Doggy can tell who people are, why can't Twitter? The problem I find with Twitter is the reason they won't do something like that is because they know they'll lose users. So you have a platform which is being used irresponsibly, and you're not being responsible enough to sort it out. I think companies, Sky Sports, TalkSport, the companies that I work for, I spoke to a social media team the other day actually at Sky Sports, and I said, how are you managing racial content? You know, there was a tweet that TalkSport put out the other day, and it was Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury, and I looked at the replies and I was horrified, and there were racist replies, and I was thinking, why isn't Twitter blocking that account, deleting that content? Why is it allowed to be written in the first place? I compared it with Sky Sports as well. I looked at their Instagram, and I know you can delete things, and I asked them, and they said, we delete harmful comment and we ban immediately. So if there is anything homophobic, sexist, racist, anything like that, it's a straight ban. And I think, well, if individual media companies can do more of that, then good, because you're sending out a message that you can't use our platform for hate. And I'd encourage more platforms to do that. But Twitter really, it has a responsibility to its users, really. You know, it's like having a massive party and not putting enough safety measures in place. It eventually will come crashing down, and the only people that will be harmed from it are these individual users that are people like us lot that want to use it for good, but will get battered by people who want to use it for bad. And yeah, I think a lot more could be done.
The media industry is stereotyped as a white middle-aged male industry. How did you find getting into it as a young woman? Did you find any sort of barriers in your way?
I think I was really lucky when I came through at Sky, because the culture was very different to what it used to be. So I started about 10, 11 years ago now, and there are far more women now than there were when I started. But Sky made a big drive, made a promise. They said they're going to put women in high-powered positions and increase that diversity, and they did it. And I was already moving into presenting and reporting at that time. So I think I've been quite lucky. If it had been 20 years ago, I don't know if I would have got these opportunities or not. I don't think I would have. But at the same time, you have to be the right person for the job. So you can't just get somewhere because of your gender. When you get there, if that is the case, and you can't back it up, you can't do your job. So I do resent that people say things like, you got your job because you're a girl. The balance was so far off before that the opportunities weren't there for women to apply for those roles. What's happening now is that you are given the opportunity to apply for those roles. And I back myself. I've always backed myself in every position I've done at Sky to be the right person for that job. And I still do it now, you know, with TalkSport as well. You've got the breakfast gig because you're a girl. No, if that was the case, it is such a difficult job, I can't explain it to you. There's so many facets of that job that people can't see. And you have to be able to do those roles first. And then it's really about the easy part of the job is going on and talking about the sport. So yeah, I think that it is changing a lot, and it's changing for the better. And that is something now as well. You know, we're living through a time where I can say as a white female that I feel optimistic that Black Lives Matter is actually going to make a difference this time. But I would like to say that because I've heard companies that I work for saying they will change and making those same pledges that they did for women 5 years ago. I don't know why it wasn't then. I don't know why it wasn't 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But unfortunately, that's the case that we're living in at the moment. But when a company that I work for that has made promises and come good in the past makes promises again, I like to trust them, and I like to think it is different. And I've spoken to a lot of people at the moment as well, a lot of Black colleagues, Black friends. And I've said, do you feel optimistic about this? And it's met with trepidation, as you'd expect. Some people are, and some people aren't positive about it. But I do think that, you know, there's things individually that I can do. I've been speaking to TalkSport, my other company, about ways that we can be more inclusive and diverse. So I think that when you have a position, when you get to a position, I'm really lucky. I have a great job. If I can use the position that I have to try and help that change happen, I'll try and do it. Obviously, I'm not a boss of a company, but I'm lucky enough to have a voice. So I think it's my responsibility to use it.
Yeah, and obviously you've got yourself this brilliant job, you know, talking about sport every day, loving life. But do you think that it's almost become sort of a secondary purpose to try and make this generation the one to change?
Yeah, I think it's the whole situation at the moment for me is really daunting, because I still feel in my head, I think I'm 20, you know, and I think I feel very inexperienced, naive and young. And I have this position at the moment where really there's, with the amount of people that are listening, you can also get yourself into a lot of trouble. So, you know, I'm learning on the job in a sense that everybody does when they get a brand new job. But I don't want to shy away from these kind of issues. And I know that there is a balance somewhere to be had, because I also don't want to alienate people. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But I do think, I think that there is a level of responsibility I have for women as well. You know, I have to make sure that I do this job right, and I have to do it as well, if not better, than my male counterparts, because I will be judged more harshly. But I want to be able to be the person that says, yeah, I was the first woman that got the job on the breakfast show, and I don't want to be the last. You know, I want to make it a thing where people don't say she's a woman on the breakfast show, she's just the current host. You know, I want that to happen. And there are so many amazing women in sport that have come before me that really did the hard work, you know, maybe not in this particular job, but, you know, all the Gabby Logans of the world and the Claire Baldings of the world that went before me, you know, they had a harder ride, I think, than I have. So I have a responsibility to keep it going, for sure. And I have a responsibility to myself and to the people I work for to do it to the best of my ability as well.
Yeah, and to finish on a more light-hearted note, what's this about 43-year-old Irish woman with 2 kids?
You know what? The biggest irony of my job is that I try and do everything to the book. So I try and get my facts right. That's what I do every day. And yet my representation online is that I'm a 43-year-old married Irish woman with kids. And it
It's
just,
really funny because I was trying to look up. I was like, I really want to know how old she is. She looks quite young, but I'm not sure. And it kept coming up as 43, and I was like, this isn't right. She's not 43.
it's become a running theme. Like, honestly, on our show, it's just a joke. It's like, can't get rid of it. There's another presenter, a lovely woman also called Laura Woods. She's Irish. She's got the kids. She's got the husband. She's Irish, and she works in a different area. And they've basically used my photos and her profile and combined the two together, and I can't get rid of it. I've got loads of people trying to get rid of it and they can't do it. So I think I'll just forever look 10 years younger than I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So to confirm, that myth has been debunked officially by the woman
We can release
herself.
this to our subscribers.
Honestly, I'm not. I get this all the time. MILF. I'm not a mother. Compliment. You know, when I interview someone, they're like, "Well, you're double his age." I'm not actually. Yeah, I just have to live with it now. Someone tweeted something the other day, and it got something like 20,000 bloody likes, and it was like, "I can't believe she's 43." I was like,
Oh, no.
43.
We will spread the word for you, we promise.
Oh, help me, honestly. But yeah, one day I'll get rid of it. But I don't know. It's in the ether of the internet now. It's, you know.
Once it's out there, it's out there. It's like the internet's a big scary place. So once it's out
Yeah,
there, it's
right.
there.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, thank you very much, Laura, for joining us on TotalSport. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're really, really happy to launch this series, and to have someone like you on the first episode is brilliant. So firstly, where can we find you on Twitter, on Instagram, that kind of stuff?
You can find me on Twitter, Laura_Woodsy, and then on Instagram it's Laura Woodsy. That's pretty much. I think that's all I'm on. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else we want to say, people over there?
The people over there.
No, I feel I'm
Lovely way
very
to address the
pleased with what
comments,
we've
Chris.
seen.
Thanks for having me, and good luck to you guys as well, because the fact that you're doing this already is so progressive, and you're obviously like bang on it, and your questions are wicked, and you're very organized and professional. So keep going, and yeah.
We've got some great women to come as well, but you are the first, so.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
Brilliant stuff.
You with a pinch of salt as well. Don't let it become your be all and end all, because it'll destroy you, and you don't want that.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, yeah. And also, congratulations to Marion. This is her first video on TotalSport channel. So, yes.
I was really nervous. That's why these guys are here for moral support.
She's absolutely smashed